you've got an employee who won't listen, they're disruptive, they're affecting the whole team, and you are at your wits' end not knowing how to deal with it. And if you get this wrong, you are going to make things a whole lot worse. But get it right and you'll be able to fix the problem quickly, easily, and with minimal risk. Before I start though, drop a comment below with your most challenging employee situations. I may even use them as examples in future videos. But diving right in, I am going to give you 3 steps to handling these most difficult, challenging, disruptive employee situations. And the first one is the one that everybody skips. And when we skip this, everything falls apart and we really cannot deal with an employee. We cannot fix a problem if we skip this one step. And this first step is to really understand the root of the problem. And this is where our language really matters in terms of how we're exploring what we're talking about. So when we talk about an employee who is disruptive, that language doesn't help anyone. It's kind of just like slinging mud. It doesn't tell us what they're actually doing. It doesn't tell us what the problem really is. And that's where we need to get really specific in order to understand what the problem is. So if what we mean by this person is disruptive is that actually they are interrupting in meetings, that's what we need to say. That's what we need to be talking about. We can then be specific in understanding, is this a capability problem? Is it a conduct issue? Are they being deliberately disruptive? Is something else going on for them? Is this a pattern of behaviour, or is it a one-off situation? And we need all of these details in order to be able to move on to the next step and deal with it properly. I find that when people call me for advice, this is the biggest challenge, because they'll call me up and they'll go, I've got this really disruptive employee and I don't know how to deal with it. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, I don't know either. What answer can I give you? And the reason I don't know the answer is because I haven't got the information about what the problem really is that I'm trying to solve. So that is the crucial step. If you ignore that step, you are not going to be able to move any further forward or do anything about it. You're just going to carry on being frustrated. So in step 2 then, we've got the specifics. So we understand specifically what the problem is. And this means we can communicate it properly. We can set really clear expectations, give really clear feedback, and then go on to understand how we can solve it. When we can be really clear and specific, we can, instead of giving feedback that's just, you're being disruptive, that somebody doesn't really know what to do with, we can give specifics. So we can say, you're interrupting in meetings. And when you do this, it reduces the productivity of the meeting. It changes the flow, the direction. It makes it much harder for us to achieve what we need to in the meeting. In future, I need you to wait until others have stopped speaking or to find the appropriate place to put forward the suggestions and the ideas that you're doing so. That is much more constructive. It's 100 times better because the individual now knows what to do with that information. They know what they're doing wrong and they know what's expected of them. However, this still doesn't work as feedback if we deliver it as a lecture, because when we give feedback like this, we assume that somebody's making the choice to behave in this way. We assume malice, really. We assume that they're coming in with I'm more important than anyone else. My opinions are more important than anyone else. So I'm going to disrupt the meeting. I'm going to say what I want when I want, and I don't quite care what anybody else thinks. Most of the time, that isn't what's going on. Occasionally it is. It's a bit narcissistic, and there are 1 or 2 people like that in the workplace, but they are a very small minority. In most situations, it's something else. So when we've got that specifics, we can then start to understand what is making this person interrupt the meeting. So let's say it's impulsiveness. If it's impulsiveness, it's that thing of, well, I've got this thing in my head, this thought is going around in my head, and if I don't get it out, nothing else can go in. I can't take on any information that's coming at me because I've got this thing in my head that's got to get out there. And that is very impulsive. It's very much I'm thinking it, so I'm going to say it. Not a huge amount of control for people who struggle with impulsivity, such as those with ADHD. It could be a struggle with social cues. So it could be okay, you're telling me I've got to wait for a gap in the conversation, But actually, because that's a tiny, minute, tiny gap that I've got to try and identify, work out whether it's right for me to step in at that time. That's a lot of identifying social cues. That's my struggle. Or it could be somebody who just feels really unheard. So they're actually quite demotivated at work because they feel like nobody's listening to them. They feel like they've got ideas, but they're not valued. And therefore, they're really trying to sort of shout themselves out there to get themselves out there. All of these situations require different solutions in terms of how we deal with it. If somebody is impulsive or struggling with social cues, they are going to need a very different solution, a very personalised solution that may need even a workplace needs assessment, so a specialist to come in and look at how can we support this person to engage appropriately in meetings. So their ideas, their value does come out, but it comes out in the right way and in a way that the whole team can get on board and be supportive of. That's going to be a different solution to somebody who's feeling demotivated because they're struggling to be heard. Maybe there's bullying, harassment going on, some toxic environment, or people don't feel safe in the workplace. All of those things that can make somebody behave in what appears to be a more impulsive way during a meeting, and that's more cultural to the organisation. It's going to need a different solution. And another solution to the person that's just like, well, I'm entitled to say what I want, like it's my thought, mine are better than everyone else. That's a completely different situation again. And that brings me on to step 3, which is not being afraid to use a formal process when you absolutely need to. So once we've identified what the problem is, and it's now a lot easier to deal with because we know specifically what we're dealing with, as opposed to that, well, you're disruptive, which when we look at it now, we're like, well, what does that even mean? We know specifically the behaviour we're dealing with. We can explore the reasons for it. What needs to be done to change it? So is it supports that somebody needs? Is it changes in workplace culture? Is there things that are going on that are causing problems in our culture and therefore we need to fix that? Both of them might even need specialists, HR support or workplace needs assessments. Or is this a conduct issue and therefore we need to go down the disciplinary route of disciplining somebody because they literally are making a choice to do that? It's not quite a capability issue. They are making that choice. But only once we've been specific, we've gone through the steps, we've understood what the cause of the problem is, we've had really specific language about what the problem is to identify the cause, the root cause of that issue, then we can take that step forward to know exactly how we're going to deal with it. And that is going to make your life a whole lot easier when it comes to managing people. It's going to take away that frustration. It puts you as a people manager back in control. As a HR professional, if you're getting those questions of, oh, I've got this disruptive employee, how do I deal with it? And you're thinking, oh, I don't even know where to start. This is where you start understanding what the problem is, because then we can go, right, we know now the root. We know the route to solve this problem. And then we're in control, and then we reduce the frustration, we reduce the emotional reactions, and it's all of those things that are most likely to end us up in an employment tribunal. So next time you've got somebody that's causing you that utter frustration, you're going home at night complaining to your spouse, your family about them, this is the steps you need to take to really try and break down and work out what the problem is so that you can move forward with solving it.